maybe you know the tale already. Maybe you know about this guy already, and maybe this is all for nothing. But have you heard of a fellow by the name of Vertus Hardiman?
Vertus
Vertus Hardiman. Yes.
That doesn't sound like a real name.
Well, it is. Trust me, it is. His real name, real guy. Vertus, Vertus, Vertus Hardiman.
Okay. Doesn't sound familiar so far.
Well, good. And I think maybe the fact that he doesn't sound familiar is testimony to what a fucking absolutely inspirational and chilled example of a guy Vertus is.
Really?
Yeah. He would have every excuse not to be. If I'd been through what Vertus Hardiman went through, I certainly wouldn't be a fraction as chilled as this fella is.
Oh,
I'd
shit.
be downright fuming is where I'd be, Corrigan. And I think you would be too.
Okay. Tell me about it. Well,
I'm going to talk about Vertus Hardiman in the context of Indiana, a little town called Lyles Station in Indiana, which was actually one of the oldest, earliest black settlement in the United States ever, right? We're in Indiana in the 1920s.
Oh, boy. I'm already worried about where this is going.
At age 5, okay, at 5 years old, Vertus was involved in his school in a kind of a medical program. Okay. Vertus was to be lucky enough to be a small group of children in his school to be selected to trial a brand new kind of treatment for ringworm, for the fungal infection ringworm.
Okay. Ringworm's pretty common. Is it common in the UK?
Yeah, it is. And the treatment for ringworm now in 2022 seems super straightforward, super painless.
Yeah.
Super simple.
It's just like penicillin or something, right? Like it's just
exactly that. It's cream. It's just topical. Rub it in, walk away. Rub it in.
Yeah, I remember my sister having that and having to do that. Easy peasy.
Yes. Which is perhaps all the more heinous then that what Vertus had been selected for and subjected to, and his parents lied to about, just flat out lied to, by the way. They were told that Vertus was going to be selected for a group of a new ringworm experiment. This simply isn't the case. The children in Vertus's group was all about studying the impact and effect that X-ray radiation had.
Oh no!
On human test subjects.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Vertus's folks, as well as the other black parents of these children, were told that their kids were going to be part of a study to cure ringworm scalp infections, right? But they ended up being testing radiation on the human body and mind.
And oh geez. Okay. Yeah, no, go on. I will ask clarifying questions later. Let's get into it. What happened here?
Over a series of experiments, Vertus was bombarded with intensely damaging doses of X-ray radiation. Some of the reports of other kids in that experiment said that they experienced things like headaches, dizziness, extreme hair loss, permanent hair loss, burning of the skin and scalp, and even bone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What those parents didn't know that they were, their kids had been lied to and coerced to become part of an actual human experiment on extreme radiation.
And I don't know if this would have been in anything that you read or any records of this, but when these things started manifesting, these terrible symptoms, what were the parents told? I'm sure they were like, I should pull my kid out of this experiment.
Well, here's the thing with Vertus, okay?
Yeah.
For the next 80 years of his life, and you see the dude, for the next 80 years of his life, he experienced a kind of a long-term dissolving of the bone matter of his skull because of these experiments, right? And he spent 80 years using hats, wigs, caps, beanies to cover the ongoing damage to the top of his head for 20 years, right? For 20 fucking years, he never complained about it at all to anyone.
And did he know that was what it was from? Or was it just like, I have a mysterious thing?
He would have known that it was linked to these experiments, but he attended a choir. He attended his church choir for 20 years after those experiments and didn't say shit to anyone about what was going on.
Wow.
He went on again. He lived an incredible life of 80 years after that and never said a thing. But he was left with an entire lifetime of extreme pain, extreme dizziness, burning of the scalp, hourly changing of dressings.
Wow.
And lived a life of quiet suffering, and never once sharing it for 20 years after that experiment. Would you like to see Vertus? Let me send you a picture of him.
Yeah, I guess so. So for 20 years, he didn't say anything. So, but that's from when he was a child. So as an adult, did he start speaking about it? How do we know his story?
How do you know his story is genuine?
Well, I'm not questioning that it's genuine, I suppose. I'm just curious, like if he was so quiet about it, how do we know about him now?
Well, when you see him, you might.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he walked around like that his entire life.
I don't even know how to describe that. You should describe this.
We're up to the eyes, up to the eyebrows, I would say. What you have there is a perfectly normal, beautiful looking human head, but you just go up just inches away, and the topography of the head begins to change and warp and undulate. There is matter exposed underneath, just protruding forth from his skin through the bone.
Almost like the top of like a rooster's head kind of situation going on there. That's what it looks like on the top of his head.
Yeah, I agree. But as incredible as that is, right, and the number of questions and the potential life ruining impacts of the deceit and the lies and the coercion and the abuse, just an horrific act of abuse visited upon from the state upon one individual, just vile. But there is an incredible hidden history of non-consensual medical research in the US.
Yeah, yes, there is. There's a reason why Black people are vaccine hesitant, as they say.
Do you know, this has put that all into such incredible context, because you're right, chiefly against minorities, economically disadvantaged minorities, lasting all the way, in some cases, Corey, up until the 1980s, pathogens, biological warfare, diseases, all the way back since the kind of the late 80s, right up until comparatively very modern day. Syphilis in 1880s Hawaii, I'm sure you will have heard of that. But I'm more shocked at just like Vertus, the amount of human radiation experiments, radiation in particular.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that was specifically a thing that comes up a lot.
Gigantic focus, different types of radiation, internally administered, externally administered. Corey, so many. I mean, let's pick up the story immediately after World War II, all right?
Okay.
There was a research program at Vanderbilt University in the States, which I don't know specifically, but 829 pregnant, mind you, pregnant Tennessee mothers were offered what they were told were vitamin drinks.
Okay.
Vitamin drinks. 829 people were given radioactive iron in a liquid, simply to determine. And the only thing that study was meant to determine was how quickly radioactive isotopes crossed the placental barrier into a fetus. That's what they were looking to find
out. What did we know about radiation at that time?
Oh,
I mean, the fact that a lot of that with these things, they knew to lie to people about what was happening to them tells me we knew enough to know that at least it was bad. You know?
Quite right. Enough to lie about it. Enough to Jesus, only to lie in the vaguest, most functional way. You know?
Yeah, you're getting ringworm treatment. You're drinking a vitamin drink. Like,
I know, right?
And to pregnant women is wild. Absolutely incredible.
Pregnant women, yes, but again, not just minorities, not just economic minorities, economic kind of victims, but all fucking combined together, right? I mean, in 1953, there was a school in Massachusetts where they gave an experiment sponsored by who else? The US Atomic Energy Commission. That and the AEC, right, comes up time and time again when you're looking at these atrocities. Fuck me, they fed radioactive pathogen-laced oatmeal, right, to mentally impacted children, to children with disabilities, to track how nutrients were digested. That's the children, to pregnant women and children.
Yeah, it's the targets also tell you that they know what they're doing, that it's minorities, that it's women, children who have disabilities, things like that it's like, because they're not like, hey, let's get a whole bunch of like, white male lawyers in here. Like they're not like, let's try this out on the top people in our society. Again, tells you exactly what they know about what they're doing.
Yeah, it really does. So lots and lots of different types of pathogen, lots and lots, and when I say lots, I please know that I'm not exaggerating here. I sit here astounded at the number and the depth and the complete disregard for human life or truth or ethics or any kind of good practice from a medical point of view, as well as an ethical point of view. Page after page after page of largely radioactive focused instances of abuse and torture by the air quote scientific community to largely minority, largely economically disadvantaged people in the States until so recently. That's one of the great things about Joag, isn't it?
Go ahead. Even the nuclear kinds of, or like radiation stuff, that was continuing until the 80s.
The radiation stuff, I'm seeing 1930s, 1940s, 1950s.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, but some of these medical tests, some of these isotope tests, the pathogenic tests carries up until so recently. Like I'm saying, that's, if you think Joag is just there to tell you about, oh, isn't it fucked up how things used to be? I mean, right. I'm a child of the 80s. This is stuff that's in many cases a very real and present danger.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that that, and it'll sound conspiratorial to say, but the thing that we know about this kind of stuff is often records don't come out till much later. Yes. And so often we find out that things were carrying on much longer than we thought that they were. And so who knows what we're going to find out about what is happening in 2022 that is wildly unethical and dangerous to the people who are having things tested on them, by people promising that they're doing something that is going to help them. I don't think that is a legacy that we have outgrown or will outgrow anytime soon.
No, certainly not.
You're absolutely right. That, I mean, it's wild to me that you're just talking here about radiation as a specific thing, and yet there are so many other forms of forced or non-consensual medical practices that have been visited upon people that I already knew about in this country. There's just so many.
Just to round off the story on Vertus, he, right up until his dying days, talked about his experiences, talked about his condition to young people around schools and colleges, universities. He had a documentary made about this exact case called "A Hole in My Head: A Life Revealed" in the 2010s. Viscerally, very, very arresting an image of everything that we've been talking about there, that inequality, that abuse played out right there, visibly and largely on the physical, the head of one man. Such a striking image.
And I have to imagine that probably many of the other children who were experimented on at the same time that he died, probably much younger. You said he lived to be like 80?
Yes, his 80s.
Yeah, I'm sure that most of them did not make it that long. Indeed. The combination of this kind of thing and the other structural inequalities visited upon Black people who were born around that time or even now. It's just the odds are so incredibly against them. Oh, wow, the whole head. It honestly, Mark's just sent me another picture. It just kind of looks like his brain is exposed, looks like the top of his head is like an open skull. That's how this looks. yeah, and very stunning photography. Whoever took this really knew what they were doing.
Completely agree. Yes.
Yeah, it's wild. Why are we so terrible all the time?
Yeah, so a very
America.
simple and straightforward message to open up this week's Giacomo Graves. I've checked, folks, and yes, we're still terrible. Wait.